President Trump says he does not want to move ahead with a short-term funding plan without more money for border security. Without the plan already approved by the Senate, parts of the federal government will have to shut down at week's end. A quick hearing in a New York courtroom today for movie maker Harvey Weinstein, who faces rape charges. A judge this morning declined to dismiss the charges against him.
Despite the court's ruling today that ultimately, at a trial of this case, Mr. Weinstein will be completely exonerated.
In the 6 months since his arrest, Harvey Weinstein has argued the criminal case against him is flawed. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office has said the prosecution is moving full steam ahead, despite efforts by defense attorney Benjamin Brofman to stop it.
Drones buzzing around London's Gatwick Airport has forced it to shut down for hours. At least 10,000 passengers have been affected as police look for the drone pilots.
We're still here with no idea when we're going to fly.
As evidence,
The Justice Department has announced charges against Chinese hackers who allegedly stole billions in U.S. company secrets.
this is conduct that hurts American businesses, hurts American jobs, hurts American consumers. The Chinese government is not pulling any punches. They want what we have so that they can get the upper hand on us. And they're strategic in their approach. They're playing the long game.
FBI Director Christopher Wray, he says the hackers went after banking, communications, and medical companies.
America's main ally in Syria, the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, now say President Trump is wrong when he says that ISIS has been defeated.
This surveillance video of a bar robbery in Altoona, Pennsylvania. The bartender emptying the register at gunpoint before taking down the intruder and turning the gun on him. The bartender is a Marine combat veteran. One shot was fired during the altercation. No one was hurt. That suspect ran off.
3 astronauts are back home after more than 6 months on the International Space Station. The American, Russian, and German crew members returned to Earth on a Soyuz spacecraft, landing in Kazakhstan overnight, smiling as well. Overnight, their return was delayed 1 week because of an aborted launch back in October, which moved back their schedule.
We're very proud and very honored to have Valerie Kramer, Service Dog Program Manager, and Sully, the Service Dog.
A grand homecoming for Sully, the former service dog to the late George H.W. Bush, arrived home at the America's Vet Dog Center in Long Island, New York, where he was trained. The 2-year-old Labrador will stay at the training center through the holidays until beginning his new mission as a service dog at the Walter Reed Army Medical Center in Maryland. It was President Bush's wish that Sully continue to help veterans after his death.
Meteorologist Ginger Z, and a lot to look at when we're talking about this holiday weekend. So many people going on the road, getting in the sky, and you've got this. Interstate 70, parts of it were shut down for a time in Colorado. They had up to 8 inches of snow, wind gusts that nearly reached 100 miles per hour. Even Keystone noted that they could have had some of the lifts go down, so they shut those down for a time just in case. And then you see the tornado damage here. That's from Port Orchard, Washington. The survey team went out there from the NWS Seattle, and they say now EF2 was the damage. It was on the ground for 1.4 miles. It was 5 minutes, did a ton of damage. And unfortunately, it looks like with the merging of another system from the south, we could end up seeing tornadoes today in Florida. You see from Orlando through Brandon or Lakeland, that's the enhanced risk. Tampa and Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Naples, all included in the potential for damaging winds. Even some tornadoes possible, outside chance in eastern South Carolina and North Carolina. Also, though, with this will come some really heavy rain. Talking about 1 to 3 inches overall with all those flood watches that extend up to Maine. And if you're traveling Thursday night into Friday, which a lot of people are, these are the areas you're going to have to watch out for. So the busy time, the rush on Thursday afternoon is kind of that mid-Atlantic from Raleigh up through parts of Washington, D.C. Then it moves into early Friday morning into the northeast. Most of it stays rain, so that's the good part. But it could end up leaving you behind up to 3 inches of rain.
Hey there, I'm Gio Benitez here in New York, and we're following a murder mystery now in Missouri. Now, this woman, she was a real estate agent in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. She was on her way, reportedly, to visit her friends in North Carolina. But halfway through that drive in Missouri, police say she was killed on the highway.
Investigators in 2 states are working to solve the murder of a mother of 2. Missouri State Police say when 40-year-old Melissa Pesky was found dead in her car late last Thursday on the side of the interstate, it was initially thought to be a tragic car crash. Her children, ages 5 and 11, surviving uninjured.
They were so in love with their mom. Every time that they got the chance, they would tell her how much they loved her.
But now, an autopsy reveals the real estate agent actually died from a gunshot wound.
An autopsy that was scheduled for this week actually determined that the driver had suffered a gunshot wound and that shot was fired from outside the vehicle.
Pesky's husband reportedly telling a local reporter that his wife was on her way to visit friends in North Carolina when she was killed. In 2014, Pesky and her husband appeared on TV station KELO talking about the strength of her family.
I thank God every single day for our family. We have been through such crazy obstacles, and I think it's just brought us closer together, because of it. They are amazing little miracles.
The tragedy is similar to another in Georgia this October. A 28-year-old aspiring model crashed into oncoming traffic, but when she was taken to the hospital, doctors discovered she had actually been shot in the neck. She died from her injuries. Police still have no leads in that case. Meanwhile, Pesky's friends are remembering her as a loving mother, completely devoted to her children.
She was such a genuine, caring person, and she was and is the epitome of what a mother should be.
And so far, police haven't named any suspects, but investigators really want anyone with information to come forward. And that father is reportedly in Missouri, and he has been reunited with his children. I'm Gio Benitez here in New York, and you're watching ABC News Live.
ABC News, straightforward.
Pop news.
Yes,
Lara.
Thank you, Cecilia. Good morning. Welcome, Jen. Good morning to all of you. So we're going to begin with King James giving some priceless advice to his little prince. NBA superstar LeBron James was at his 11-year-old son Bryce's school basketball game, and afterwards, he gave the phenom in training a little pep talk. The phenom didn't think he did so well, so Dad says this.
You get too down on yourself for no reason. You made 3 of the biggest plays of the game. If you missing shots or making shots, don't worry about it, kid. You played a hell of a game. You ain't got to worry about making shots or missing shots. All right? Good job. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you, man. All right, go with your team. Bye.
Go with your team. Great advice. It isn't always about sinking the baskets. A lot more goes into it. King James proving he would also make a heck of a coach.
Think about the pressure he's under being LeBron James' son, So that was a sweet moment.
A rare, sweet moment. Happy to share that with you. And then also this morning, 2 of my favorite girls, Serena and Venus Williams, well, they're putting their shared mansion in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, on the market. The house they purchased together back in 1998, with each sister occupying a separate wing of this 8,000 square foot estate. It features 6 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, in case your guys are looking. A gracious open plan, vaulted ceilings, glass walls, their own home theater, plus a large fitness room on the grounds looking over a golf course. There's a pool, a spa, but maybe the ladies didn't like to bring their work home with them because no tennis courts. That was interesting.
What if you only want to buy 1 wing?
Then you split it with a friend.
Fair enough. My brother, yes.
Yes, the Williams compound being offered for just under $2.7 million. Wow. Thought I'd share those pictures with you. Gwyneth Paltrow is in the news this morning, embracing the holidays with her new blended family and proving that divorce doesn't have to be ugly. Look at this Christmas photo she posted on Instagram on Wednesday. In front of her fireplace, stockings are hanging. There's her new husband, Brad. His stocking, hers, apples, Moses, and the stocking right above her head reads Chris. That's her ex-husband, Chris Martin, of course. The kind and inclusive spirit of the holiday season very much alive in the Paltrow home.
That's right.
We know how to do that.
That's conscious uncoupling, right? Isn't that what they call it?
Yes, she is famous for that term, and she is doing it right. And then finally, everybody, it's the case of the missing kiss tips. Huh? Yes. Fans of Hershey's Kisses have noticed the bite-sized chocolates look different lately. Their tips are missing. Yes. They're missing, they're flattened. Bakers in particular say the sloppy kisses are killing the look of their holiday cookies. Hershey's director of communications says they're looking into the missing tips. Thankfully, only the tip is missing. It seems to be affecting all of the chocolate kisses out in the marketplace, according to the Lebanon Daily News in Pennsylvania, which broke this story. Hershey says they don't have a reason that the tips are missing. That's why we are calling it the Grinch who stole Tipmas.
What's a P?
Every fiber in my being is like, can we throw to commercial break?
No, and I have a whole bowl that I will prove it to you later. Let us move on.
Okay. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. We'll turn now, I'll save you here, to our GMA cover story. Teen vaping use is soaring, so much so that the Surgeon General has declared it an epidemic. And making matters even worse, there are very few treatment options available to help teens kick the habit. Nightline anchor Juju Chang joins us with more on this. Good morning, Juju.
Good morning, Cecilia. Good morning, guys. And you know, it is a bitter irony that the device that's supposed to help adults kick the nicotine habit has now hooked countless teenagers. Just about every parent I know is worried, and with good reason. Research shows that teenagers' brains can get addicted easier, and getting them off can be trickier.
Luca Kynard is a typical 15-year-old, just trying to fit in. But sometimes fitting in isn't the smartest route.
I saw people using Juuls, whether it be at social gatherings or at school, and that's when I really started to pick up on juuling.
Luca says experimenting morphed into vaping a pod a day, the equivalent of a pack of cigarettes. Mango and menthol, his favorites.
When I was going out to eat, instead of going to eat, I'd go to the place to eat, and instead I'd save my money to go smoke.
His mother, Kelly, says the honor roll student's grades faltered. His mood darkened.
He's always had a wonderful, vibrant, happy personality, and that changed pretty much overnight. One day he was great, and the next day he was a totally different person.
Luca was among the 1.3 million teens who vape in a year. Just this week, the Surgeon General declaring e-cigarette use an epidemic among young people. All the more troubling because studies show a teen's still developing brain leaves them more vulnerable to addiction.
And something that's really different that we hadn't seen before is kids coming in just for problems with Juuls. That's pretty new for us.
The Wall Street Journal also found that doctors across the country are struggling to help teens fight their e-cigarette addictions.
What I discovered is that there aren't many treatment options. There are not many things that parents know about how to deal with this.
Dr. Sharon Levy is director of Adolescent Substance Use and Addiction Program at Boston's Children's Hospital.
Our call volume this year is about 6 times higher than it was same time last year.
She says treating a child's addiction is not one size fits all.
When we see kids coming in who are juuling and having trouble quitting, the first line that we usually offer them is nicotine replacement, and that in itself is really not usually enough. Kids also typically need counseling to help them get past the withdrawal and the cravings.
But for Luca, the answer to fixing his addiction issues came in the form of a 39-day treatment facility with group counseling and relapse prevention.
Before treatment, my view of the world was that it's me versus the world, and that I had to carry the world's weight on my shoulders. But now I don't feel like that at all. I feel so much support by family and friends. It's a great feeling.
Now, Lucas tells us that he is no longer vaping, and Mom says she's just happy to have her son back. Now, Juul, the e-cigarette maker, has taken steps to eliminate those enticing flavors for kids, and they're working with federal authorities. They told us in a statement, underage use of Juul is completely unacceptable to us and runs counter to our mission, which is, of course, helping eliminate addiction. Cecilia?
Okay, Juju, thank you. Let's bring in our chief medical correspondent, Dr. Jennifer Ashton. We have been talking about this story all week because so many parents of teens are concerned about this. Let's let's talk about the teenage brain and how vaping affects it. Are teens more susceptible to addiction?
Absolutely they are, and we have to talk about basic anatomy and physiology here. When they inhale that nicotine, which the majority of these e-cigs contain, sometimes in much higher concentrated doses than a regular cigarette, it goes into the bloodstream, it floods the brain. The part of the brain we're particularly concerned with is called the prefrontal cortex, and that's the part that's responsible for decision-making, emotions, impulse control. It is not fully mature until the mid-20s. So when you talk about those tasks, the executive functioning, as we like to call it, teens are already struggling with those things. Nicotine makes it worse, and this can exacerbate mental health issues like depression, anxiety, anger. This is a big deal.
So you don't come home smelling like smoke. They're hard to spot sometimes, these e-cigarettes.
Right.
They look like a variety of different things. How can parents tell if their child is addicted?
Well, I think the issue is that you have to look for the same signs and symptoms of nicotine addiction as we would think about looking for in an adult who's trying to quit regular cigarettes. Restlessness, irritability, behavior seeking out nicotine or these vaping devices, and a change in mood, concentration, academic performance. These are really significant, and we have to see this from the child or teen's perspective. Their developmental task at baseline is to take risks, to challenge authority, and to fit in. All three of those things stack the deck and really make a perfect storm for their using these devices more and more, and that's why we see these staggering numbers.
You see those signs in your child. What do you do? Is there anything you can do to stop this?
That's the point of this, is that this is uncharted territory. There are no clear addiction protocols for teens for these e-cigs. So the first step has to be talk to their pediatrician. Unfortunately, then you have to seek out substance abuse programs no differently than you would if you were talking about a teen addicted to opioids, and talk to your teenagers about these devices without judgment. We have to see this from their perspective. The more as parents we get worked up, what is a teenager going to do? Say, you say black, I say white, I'm going to do it more. So we have to engage them on their level and make them understand that this is a serious problem, and fear strategy, fear tactic is not going to work with a teenager.
All such valuable information can help so many people. Thanks, Jen.
So we're celebrating the season of giving. Just 5 days now until Christmas. We're giving our all and helping some of those many families across the country that still don't have gifts for their kids, their families under the tree because they haven't been able to pay off their layaway plans. We've seen layaway angels like Tyler Perry, Kid Rock, and New Orleans Saint owner Gail Benson step up, along with lots of anonymous donors out there. Take a look at the impact that these donations can really make. All across the country, a growing American holiday tradition. A special kind of secret Santa called layaway angels.
Oh my God!
People paying off layaway plans for complete strangers. As Christmas approaches, prayers being answered.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe that.
For single mother and nursing assistant Tanya McCarthy and her 2 young sons, these are tough times.
I lost my job, then my truck was repoed, and recently my phone got shut off.
She's worried about Christmas for her 2 boys and had started a layaway but couldn't make her payment. It was an impossible struggle.
Very much so. It's hard. So, sorry.
But something magical happened.
An angel blessed me. There was a text on my phone from a Walmart associate saying, come and get your stuff off a layaway. It's been paid for.
$237 in toys from an anonymous angel.
We're looking for Mr. Nelson.
Dakota Nelson, a young widower, father of 7, who lost his wife this past summer, got a beautiful surprise courtesy of an Idaho digital news site and a secret donor. Layaway paid and then some. $10,000 in gift cards. Almost too much to handle for the young father who is still so deeply moved.
There's a lot of people that care about you.
In Chicopee, Massachusetts, they're still talking about this little angel, 11-year-old Brady Procone. He helped pay off a family's layaway worth $300 in video games and toys.
I wanted to do it because not a lot of kids are as fortunate as I am.
The Walmart employees started crying, so that was emotional.
It makes me feel happy, and I hope that others do the same.
Pay it forward. So great to see the smiles on their faces. And you know, you don't have to be a millionaire or a movie mogul to help kids get those Christmas gifts. Now there's a crowdsourcing way to help pay off layaway plans.
Yeah, I just looked it up on my phone right now. It's amazing. From now until midnight on Christmas Eve, we are partnering with payawaythelayaway.org. That's going to help put those presents under the tree, so you can go to payawaythelayaway.org, or you can go to our website to see how you can get involved. And every donation, big or small, makes a difference. Every dollar counts. Seeing those kids, the families' faces, I mean, it's priceless.
It's
So what better way to spend your money?
Little bit can go a really long way, and we're going to get this party started right now. Can we have the Elves, please? Woo! Showing care for families. That's what Pay Away the Layaway is all about. So a big thank you to Cottonelle brand and to our elves. I won't forget that. Let's do it, everybody. Let's do it.
ABC News, straightforward.
Your mom said, comb your hair. Your dad told you, smarten up. Your dog is judging you right now. And your best friend just called you crazy. We all need someone who'll pull no punches and give it to us straight. Now imagine getting your news like that. No bull, no spin, just give it to me straight. Straightforward news, straight to the heart of the story. ABC News, straightforward.
Yeah.
Are you the busiest guy in Hollywood?
I think so right now.
Now.
Are you sick of me yet?
No, yes, because you were just here for Beautiful Boy.
Right.
As I just said, 3 movies all coming out within 2 months of each other.
Yeah.
Beautiful Boy, Vice, Welcome to Marwen. All of your characters based on real people.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, yeah. That's a lot of responsibility.
That's a lot of heads to get into.
It is.
So which of those 3 characters was it the most challenging?
Well, different challenges for different people. Welcome to Marwen was a challenge because it's a guy who is suffering from post-traumatic stress, and it's a person who actually has become my friend. So there's that added component of responsibility to get it right.
And also Donald Rumsfeld.
And Donald Rumsfeld.
Just throw that in there.
Right. Yeah, he's a sort of inscrutable sort of guy. So yeah, that was a bit of a challenge.
And then the character, the father in Beautiful Boy, 3 very different.
Yeah, David Shep.
I want to talk about Welcome to Marwen. This is being called the most original movie of the year. Robert Zemeckis has done it again.
It's crazy.
It's amazing, and it's a story, as you just said, Steve, based on a man who endured a brutal attack.
Yeah.
And recovered through this fantasy world, this alter ego, these dolls.
Yeah.
Did you, when you heard that this was happening, how did you wrap your head around the fact that you would be playing a doll?
Well, always my dream, of course, And when you see the doll, when you see yourself in doll form, there's a double-edged sword to it because super attractive, but way better looking than you are naturally. So, it's nice to have it in your collection, but it doesn't actually represent who I think I actually look like. Unfortunately.
Come on, you're too hard on yourself. The character that you play, Mark Hogenkamp, who lost his memory, as you said, you became very close and really you felt a responsibility to get it right.
Yeah.
Has he seen the finished product?
He has. He's really excited about it. He called me. He just saw it like 2 days ago. So I haven't spoken to him personally, but word has come back that, he's actually bringing a big group of friends to see it this weekend. But he called me after he saw the first trailer and left a really cryptic message. He said, "Hi, Steve, it's Mark, call me." And I thought, oh no, boy, what does that mean? And I called him right back and he said, "I've watched the trailer 12 times. I've cried every time. That's my life." Yeah, it's really exciting. He's a sweet, sweet person and an inspiration because he was able to take this terrible hate crime, something awful, and turn it into something really beautiful.
Yeah, and it's really incredible to see on camera. We just had Leslie Mann on, your co-star.
She's the worst.
Oh, no. You're gosh, Leslie. She said the same about you.
Oh, really?
No, she absolutely loved you, and she really felt for you because to become the doll, you actually had to wear these rather unflattering
I knew you were going for that.
suits. Yeah, there's a picture of it. I'm so glad we could show that because you look particularly
It's hard to imagine that that's going to turn into a swashbuckling sort of heroic guy. It's a very clingy, awful thing to wear. But it's interesting because, you know, in that environment, it's all these infrared sensors picking up everything you do in 360 degrees. And you don't have any props, you don't have any sets,
right.
And then you see the final product, and it's crazy what they've imagined around
this world,
you.
Yeah. Do you guys want to see it?
My mom's baking a ham on Sunday. Do you want to come over for dinner?
Ham? Your house?
Well, it's my mom's house. But yeah, my house.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really crazy about ham.
That's okay. I'm sure she'd be happy to roast a chicken.
Ugh, I'm not crazy about chicken either.
How about hot roast?
That gives me gas.
Ribs?
That's kind of messy.
Sushi?
Your mom can make sushi?
It really is so creative, so brilliant, and so touching.
Thanks.
And then on the other hand, Vice, congratulations on this film that's getting so much buzz. Did you have any input from Donald Rumsfeld?
I did not speak to him. No. I don't expect to speak to him.
Okay.
Yeah. It's an interesting character to play because so much of it is just left to your imagination as to what he was like behind the scenes. You can watch the videotape of what, you know, his public persona, but his private persona, I think, is something entirely different.
Yeah. Well, 3 amazing performances.
Thanks.
Are you going to get a chance to take a break for Christmas?
Yeah.
Family time.
Family time.
Well, I'm glad.
Do a couple statements and we're just going to go. All right, let me just start off right now. We just had a very long, productive meeting with the president. The president informed us that he will not sign the bill that came up from the Senate last evening because of his legitimate concerns for border security. So what we're going to do is go back to the House and work with our members. We want to keep the government open, but we also want to see an agreement that protects the border. We have very serious concerns about securing our border. So the president said he will not sign this bill. So we're going to go back and work on adding border security to this, also keeping the government open because we do want to see an agreement. With that, I'll turn it to Majority Leader Carthy.
We believe there's still time. We could have border security. We know fundamentally that's what America is asking for. It's one of the fundamental jobs, especially for a president as well. We had a great discussion within there. The president said what the Senate sent over is just kicking the can down the road. We want to solve this problem. We want to make sure we keep the government open, and we're going to work to have that done and get something happening.
President Trump today is defending his decision to pull all U.S. troops out of Syria.
The president tweeting that getting out of Syria was no surprise because he had campaigned on it, and that remaining there means spending precious lives and trillions of dollars protecting others, adding that if ISIS does hit us, they are doomed.
The president is pulling the troops after declaring they had won the fight against ISIS.
We've got 2 choices to fight this war: in their backyard or our backyard. And ISIS in Afghanistan, I know for sure, is looking toward the United States and their target sets.
President Trump says he does not want to move ahead with a short-term funding plan without more money for border security. Without the plan already approved by the Senate, parts of the federal government will have to shut down at week's end. A quick hearing in a New York courtroom today for movie maker Harvey Weinstein, who faces rape charges A judge this morning declined to dismiss the charges against him.
Despite the court's ruling today that ultimately, at a trial of this case, Mr. Weinstein will be completely exonerated.
In the 6 months since his arrest, Harvey Weinstein has argued the criminal case against him is flawed. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office has said the prosecution is moving full steam ahead, despite efforts by defense attorney Benjamin Brofman to stop the...
Drones buzzing around London's Gatwick Airport has forced it to shut down for hours. At least 10,000 passengers have been affected as police look for the drone pilots.
We're still here with no idea when we're going to fly.
As evidence, the Justice Department has announced charges against Chinese hackers who allegedly stole billions in U.S. company secrets.
This is conduct that hurts American businesses, hurts American jobs, hurts American consumers. Chinese government is not pulling any punches. They want what we have so that they can get the upper hand on us. And they're strategic in their approach. They're playing the long game.
FBI Director Christopher Wray, he says the hackers went after banking, communications, and medical companies.
This surveillance video of a bar robbery in Altoona, Pennsylvania. The bartender emptying the register at gunpoint before taking down the intruder and turning the gun on him. The bartender is a Marine combat veteran. One shot was fired during the altercation. No one was hurt. That suspect ran off.
3 astronauts are back home after more than 6 months on the International Space Station. The American, Russian, and German crew members returned to Earth on a Soyuz spacecraft, landing in Kazakhstan overnight, smiling as well. Overnight, their return was delayed 1 week because of an aborted launch back in October, which moved back their schedule.
We're very proud and very honored to have Valerie Kramer, Service Dog Program Manager, and Sully, the Service Dog.
A grand homecoming for Sully, the former service dog to the late George H.W. Bush, arrived home at the America's Vet Dog Center in Long Island, New York, where he was trained. The 2-year-old Labrador will stay at the training center through the holidays until beginning his new mission as a service dog at the Walter Reed Army Medical Center in Maryland. It was President Bush's wish that Sully continue to help veterans after his death.
Meteorologist Ginger Z, and a lot to look at when we're talking about this holiday weekend. So many people going on the road, getting in the sky, and you've got this. Interstate 70, parts of it were shut down for a time in Colorado. They had up to 8 inches of snow, wind gusts that nearly reached 100 miles per hour. Even Keystone noted that they could have had some of the lifts go down, so they shut those down for a time just in case. And then you see the tornado damage here. That's from Port Orchard, Washington. The survey team went out there from the NWS Seattle, and they say now EF2 was the damage. It was on the ground for 1.4 miles. It was 5 minutes, did a ton of damage. And unfortunately, it looks like with the merging of another system from the south, we could end up seeing tornadoes today in Florida. You see from Orlando through Brandon or Lakeland, that's the enhanced risk. Tampa and Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Naples, all included in the potential for damaging winds. Even some tornadoes possible, outside chance in eastern South Carolina and North Carolina. Also, though, with this will come some really heavy rain. Talking about 1 to 3 inches overall with all those flood watches that extend up to Maine. And if you're traveling Thursday night into Friday, which a lot of people are, these are the areas you're going to have to watch out for. So the busy time, the rush on Thursday afternoon is kind of that mid-Atlantic from Raleigh up through parts of Washington, D.C. Then it moves into early Friday morning into the Northeast. Most of it stays rain, so that's the good part. But it could end up leaving you behind up to 3 inches of rain.
I'm Janae Norman in New York with ABC News Live, and the actress says that she planned to keep quiet to honor the terms of her settlement, but decided to break the confidentiality clause after CBS and Weatherly both publicly commented in what she said amounted to more deflection, denial, and spin.
Oh, we have a special friend joining us.
Eliza Dushku going public with what she says are the gritty details about her $9.5 million sexual harassment settlement with CBS.
What the hell just happened?
You're asking me? I have no idea. But you won.
In an op-ed published by the Boston Globe Wednesday, the actress said she suffered relentless sexual harassment by Michael Weatherly while co-starring on the CBS series Bull, saying he regularly commented on my ravishing beauty, following up with audible groans, oohing and awing. Recalling Weatherly once shouted in my face, "I will take you over my knee and spank you like a little girl." Dushku says the Bull showrunner, Glenn Gordon Caron, even defending the Weatherly remarks, adding, "What does Eliza expect? She was in Maxim." According to the New York Times, Weatherly telling CBS investigators the remark about spanking was meant as a joke.
I mean, you really got some quality rage going. Really gives you an edge.
The former Buffy the Vampire Slayer star tweeting on Wednesday, "Thank you for giving me my voice back."
State regionals, here we come.
In 2017, the Bring It On star joining the cast of Bull at the end of its first season, she says with the intent of becoming a series regular for years to come. However, after confronting Weatherly on his actions, she claims she was written off the show.
If you're coming down with something, don't sit next to me in the truck.
Weatherly's former NCIS co-stars coming out in his defense with tweets of support earlier this week before Dushku's interview with the Globe. Pauly Perrette posting a picture captioned, "This man I love, respect, trust," and actress Sasha Alexander saying, "True friend and heart as big as they come." In a statement to the Times, Weatherly said he now realizes what he said wasn't funny or appropriate, and he's sorry for the pain it caused Dushku. I'm Janae Norman in New York. You're watching ABC News Live.
Nestled deep inside the Bay of Bengal, more than 2 hours from the nearest inhabited island and 24 miles away from the mainland.
It's a much bigger island than I thought it was going to be.
Is a place the Bangladesh government doesn't want you to see. It's called Bhasan Chor, which literally means floating island.
So you guys think they've seen us out here?
It's the government's solution to the so-called Rohingya problem, a place to put tens of thousands of the refugees who have fled genocide in their own country. But there's been almost no access to the island, and other Western journalists have been turned away. So we are heading there in hopes of seeing what activists fear may become a prison island. For 3 years, we've covered the tragedy of the Rohingya, one of the most persecuted groups in the world. An ethnic Muslim minority, they have been targeted by the Buddhist military in their home country of Myanmar. There have been gang rapes, the torching of hundreds of villages, enslavement, and the killings of children, some before the eyes of their own parents. Over 10,000 people have died in what a recent UN report has called a textbook ethnic cleansing. These atrocities finally called out by the U.S. House of Representatives.
The United States has a moral obligation to call these crimes genocide.
Aung San Suu Kyi, Myanmar's de facto leader and Nobel Peace Prize laureate, has widely fallen from grace for her failure to condemn the violence in her country.
We want to find out what the real problems are, and we have to make sure that these allegations are based on solid evidence before we take action.
But despite Suu Kyi's denial, almost 1 million Rohingya have fled her country into neighboring Bangladesh. And now an international debate roils over what the future of the Rohingya should be. Just weeks ago, Bangladesh and Myanmar struck a controversial deal to repatriate the Rohingya in phases. But when buses arrived to carry refugees back to Myanmar, they refused to go. So for now, thousands of families are in limbo, and a new humanitarian crisis is underway. Here in Bangladesh, they are spread out between 32 different makeshift camps.
It is not a beautiful place to be, but they know it's a lot safer than it would have been if they just stayed in Myanmar.
Everywhere, there are reminders that this new life is tenuous, temporary. The rows of bamboo huts, their roofs thatched with aid group tarps. Nur Alam lives with his family in the Unchiprang refugee camp. The memory of being tortured in Myanmar is forever seared in his brain.
The
plan to repatriate worries him. He says it's too dangerous until they're granted full citizenship and are allowed to safely practice Islam. He says he would rather kill himself than go back now. But as the camps become overpopulated, safety, even here, is not guaranteed.
Even for those who get out of Myanmar and get here to Bangladesh, to these camps, there's plenty of danger. In fact, there are more rapes in these camps.
Here in this bare-bones women's clinic, Dr. Sadia Afroz has cared for many women like this one, who fled danger in Myanmar only to be raped by a man inside her own camp. Overwhelmed by shame, she came here for an abortion and support.
We save their life by giving the counseling and giving the psychosocial support.
Have you saved a lot of lives?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Here, they've also delivered hundreds of babies. The World Health Organization is expecting 60,000 children to be born in the camps just this year. For children, whether born or brought here, now this is their life.
So tell me what we see here. So what is this, first of all?
This is the waiting area. You come inside the center.
Yeah.
You wait here for your turn.
To do what?
To get ready to use therapeutic food and to get the hot milk.
Mahmoud Patwari is an aid worker for Action Against Hunger, an international NGO.
This is a center to treat severely acute malnourished children.
Their little arms are measured to screen for being chronically underfed.
So the tip, if it is in the red portion, that means severely malnourished.
Perhaps even more disheartening than the damage to their little bodies is the incalculable toll this trauma takes on the spirit of a child.
Oh, there's tears.
Yeah, tears, yeah.
Oh, so there's a picture they took originally of their mom or somebody crying.
Yeah, maybe somebody very close to them.
Their therapy, these crayons. Grief etched in every stroke.
So this one, military with a rifle. It's a grave with people, dead bodies in the grave.
It's a mass grave.
Mass grave. Yes.
Are the people watching those that have been
So that means that
killed?
these kids witnessed this violence. Now, and after 9 months of counseling, they are drawing happy things. Like happy family, the mother collecting water from tube well, father is praying.
These 6 little children live in this tent with their mother and father, but the memory of horrors left behind is still fresh. He shows us where he was stabbed by the military of Myanmar, also known as Burma.
Do you still have nightmares about what you went through over there in Myanmar?
She tells us that anywhere is better than back in Myanmar. But it's clear that not everyone agrees. In the middle of our conversation, a neighbor, Klas Ahmad, starts to yell at her. There's no future for us here, he says. And the place he would never move to, he told us, is that controversial island, Bhasan Char. So without seeking permission from the government, we made our way through the Bay of Bengal. The island is so isolated, it would be very difficult for the world to know what is happening to the Rohingya.
So should we go and try to walk ashore?
The docks are guarded by the Bangladesh Navy.
How many people are there?
But we spotted some workers and joined them as they trudged through the water.
So now we're on the dry land. I think it's going to be about a half a mile in there, maybe half.